what I was saying to you is that I want you to walk out of here with actionable strategies that will change the way you operate during your listing presentation, also better known as your marketing presentation, your marketing strategy, your marketing proposal. Let's not call it a listing presentation to the consumer. Let's make it better. Let's call it a marketing proposal, marketing presentation. So listings are the name of the game. We know that pricing strategies, we want to win and sell more listings. And we also want that extra bonus I told you I was going to give you today, which we cover, which is how to get an effective price reduction the right way. If you have specific questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'm going to keep the chat open on the side here, and I will address any and all of those questions. Let's get started. Obviously, most of you know me. I'm Sherri Johnson. I've been licensed 29 years. I have Sherri Johnson Coaching and Consulting. And I am excited because I keep offering, a lot of value added. Do you still need to be? Value added coaching that I think is just adding to your lives, right? So many people in our coaching program get results, so many people in our group coaching, so many people at our companies that we coach for and teams that we're coaching for. I have teams that are up 49 and 55%. I have another team that's up 200% over last year. This is not the easiest market we've seen. So I've been licensed a long time. I ran a huge company on the west side of Cleveland. My portion of that company, 800 agents, took it from $500 million to $2 billion in annual sales in about, less than 4 years. And pretty exciting. Okay. That all being said, I know how hard you work. I know what it takes to get a listing. I know what it takes to convert that lead. I'm going to give you better strategies today that I've helped thousands of agents use that will help you compete at a higher level and win. And that's the point, right? Like, we can't go out there and compete without a better strategy. Okay. But we do. Every one of us goes out. And I think what we do is we wing it. Okay. And I know this because I coach a lot of people and I coach thousands of agents. And what happens is you don't have a plan. You have your typical scripts that you've used forever on a listing appointment. You come in with comps, and I want you to strike the word comps. Everybody says comps. We are going to have a better pricing strategy conversation. We're not going to say comps. We're going to have better wording. Take a look at, if you want to scan this and grab my contact details, you can save them, put it in your phone. You can text me. You can download a bunch of things from the Sherri Johnson app right there that you see on the screen. I'll show this again at the end if you would like. Connect with me, fill out the form, save this to your phone, and you'll have access to me all the time. I'm going to give away a 20-minute coaching call today if you're interested. 20 minutes with us to talk about your business, what's working, what's not working, maybe look at your gold mine pipeline, whatever. I just had a call today. We're talking about raising the average sale price from 450 to 600-700 and also increasing units. So very impactful, very actual items that you're going to get. He's probably signing up for coaching anyway. That's not the point of the call, though. The point is to give you 20 minutes of coaching and help you literally level up your coaching game. This pricing talk has a download ebook. So if you're interested and you want the ebook, I'll show this again. And Liz will probably put this right here. This download has all of the scripts that I'm going to talk about. You can have this. It's literally a PDF. You can keep it on your phone, have it with you, and use it. Okay. Long after this session today, I want you to be able to know these talk tracks and memorize them and get them. So this is the download of the scripts I'm giving you today. If you are on Sherri Johnson Academy, there is also the Ultimate Pricing Strategy is a course, as well as all of the other listing courses, how to get a price reduction, etc. Okay, how to convert, how to close the listing, how to get the listing, all those things. Podcast, take a look at this. This podcast has been retired. We're launching our new podcast. Actually, I'm recording one this afternoon. You will love the content. If you've not listened to this, please download this. Make it a point to download this today and start listening to it immediately. People tell me they sell houses from just listening to the podcast. This particular podcast shows you how you can make $50,000 at one open house. We have agents who have made over $150,000 from one open house. What could you do if you started listening to the podcast? It gets you into your sales mode, gives you the motivation, the energy, the excitement, and the talking points that you need to help close the gap from setting goals to actually achieving them. You know, when we think about listings, and I want you to go right now into, you know, are you a listing agent? Are you a buyer's agent? Would you rather be a listing agent? Probably yes, right? We know that the power of one listing, I'm going to share that slide in a moment, but the power of one listing creates multiple listings. We teach, and I teach a system to sell typically 5 sales off of every listing. We're not doing that typically because you list a house and you move on. But where is your mindset? Do you believe that's possible? Do you believe, right, that you can go out and get the listing and have a better marketing plan, a better pricing strategy, and win the listing? I want you to think right now, how many times have you not gotten a listing because the seller wanted to list it at a certain price and you didn't want to do that? Right? That's part of what we're going to talk about today, because that's what happens, right? Enthusiasm wins every time. Enthusiasm, okay, has a really great word at letters at the end, right? See those last few letters? IASM. I am already sold myself. I'm doing this. I'm selling the house. Not walking in and saying these people are crazy. What's wrong with them? They have a higher, so they have an ambitious price, right? Trust me, when you hear this strategy, you will thank me and you will have a new approach and a new strategy, and you will always get the listing every time. Okay. But it starts with your mindset and how you're going into it. And I don't want you to say, I don't take over price. That is silly. I'm not going to ever teach, coach, educate, or guide anybody or train anybody to go in and inflate the price to get the listing. That's not what I'm talking about. That's unethical, and it's a violation of the code of ethics, actually. So I'm not saying go in and up the price to get the listing. I'm saying don't go in and fight with the seller and lose the listing over 10 or 30 grand, right? On a 650 house, they want to go 680. Okay, have a better plan for what we're going to do after 30 or 45 days and X number of showings. Let's have a better strategy. Let's stop fighting with the seller. Let's win the listing, okay? I'm not talking about inflating the price up, okay? I'm going to give you some good and actually bad examples. I'll call that, let's reframe that. I'm going to give you some really good bad examples. How's that sound? Okay, some of them are my own. Most of them are not going to be, but I have a few of my own. We know that a listing gives you the opportunity to sell more houses. It's a sign in the yard. I probably shouldn't have a buy owner sign up there, but think about this, right? If you are out and your sign is up and your name is on it, that is literally a billboard. There's value in that. There's value in saying you sold that property. Okay. So instead of getting upset over the pricing, let's have a better strategy. Let's be smart. Let's say I'm going after listings on purpose. Write this down. 25% of the inventory is always testing the market or overpriced. That has been around for the 3 decades I've been doing this. If you've been licensed a while, you'll probably say, yeah, you're probably right, Sherri. I know I'm right. This is a statistic that's been around forever. 25%, that means 1 out of 4 of your listings are probably not that motivated. They don't have to move. They would move if they're waiting out. They want to see if they can get the price they want. Okay. When that happens, we tend to try to get a price reduction from those people, and they're not motivated. And if you only have 1 listing, or you have 2 listings, or maybe you have 4 listings, and one of them is testing the market or waiting or wants that reload buyer to come in and buy their house, The truth is, right, is that rather than try to get that price reduction from that one person, I'd rather you go out and get more listings. The anecdote, literally the solution for this issue, this problem of someone not lowering their price if they're not motivated, is to go out and get more listings. Okay? That's a great answer, isn't it? The best thing that happens is your name is out there. You have more control of your life, your literally your schedule, and you get all the buyers all the time from doing great open houses, from doing powerful marketing, from doing a pre-neighborhood open, all the things that come from doing this and having this one listing, right? In my first month in real estate, my very first month in real estate, I sold 5 houses. 4 of them came from one house. My listing, I sold 4 houses. I sold the house myself. That's 2 transactions. The people who bought it had a property to sell. I sold that in about 2 weeks. And I picked up a buyer at an open house and sold him something within that same month. 4 transactions from 1 sale. This is why my entire coaching program is based on leveraging the listing. So it doesn't happen, though, if you don't get the listing, right? I've never seen, there's no such thing as a bad listing, okay? I remember taking a listing once and my office buddies, the people in my office were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you took that listing. They were like making fun of me, right? It's a 2-bedroom farmhouse for $250 or $230, I forget. I think it was $230 on a main road. It's a cute house. And I was like, I'm on a main road and my sign is being seen by hundreds of thousands of people per week. Right? And that was great. I ended up selling that house myself, actually. Double-ended that from an open house. Go figure. So there's no such thing as a bad listing unless they want you to commit fraud. That's it. That's the only time we'll say goodbye to that, right? Now, I understand you might have a house that's $1.2 million and they want to list it at $1.8 million. That's kind of a drastic, ambitious difference. But I'm talking about when we go out on a listing and someone wants to list their house 10% higher and we fight with them and we don't get it. That's not okay. You don't have that listing now. Okay. Someone else is going to list it and it will sell. It actually will sell. Okay. And I want you to think like, do I have the mindset that allows me to be strategic enough when I go into an appointment to find out what their motivation is? Today, we're going to cover the 5 factors of motivation. If they're not there, that's okay. I'm going to give you the 5 most motivating factors of a seller who's going to sell their house. But your mindset has to be, you know what? I'm going and I'm getting this listing. I'm going to get it signed. Right? I mean, I love when I hear an agent say, I take everything with me on the first appointment, and you never know. Meaning you take a ready to go set of docs with you. It's all ready in your computer system. Like you already have in dot loop, you have everything ready to go. If they're ready to sign, you're ready to go. They may not be, but you're ready to go, right? How do I know this, that I can walk in and close the deal today, or at least get hired for 2 or 3 months from now? Because that's how I want you to believe. I actually want you to see yourself winning before you're even at the appointment. Does that make sense? If you see yourself winning before you've even gotten there, before you've pulled out the comparables, before you talk about a pricing strategy, all of this matters, okay? It all matters. I want you to think about this. You sell yourself and your value first, then you sell a house. Why would someone choose to work with me over anyone else? Why would someone choose to work with you over anybody else? Right? You have to sell your value or no one's going to hire you. Okay. So first we sell ourselves and with the value you bring to the table. You know, Mike and Kim, I have a strategic marketing plan that gets results. It's a 3-tier strategic marketing plan. And my 3-tier system finds the buyer for your home. I'm going to tell you why that's so important. But do you radically differentiate yourself or do you just say what everybody else says? I'm going to put your house in the MLS. That's not radically different. Everyone has the MLS, okay? when a survey was done through NAR, I want you to realize something. I want you to write this down. The number one thing that a seller expects from their listing agent, okay, from the agent that they're hiring to sell their home. The number one thing that they want isn't for you to be hardworking. That's a given. That's an automatic. Like you should. That's a non-negotiable, right? That you only got this appointment because they perceived you to be hardworking. It's not honesty and communication, although all those things are important. Ethical, honest, caring, all those things are important. The number one thing that they said they wanted, we're going to cover 4 of them. The number one thing is that the seller wants us to find a buyer for their home. They don't want to hear us say, I'm going to do mass market exposure and you're going to be on all these websites. I mean, that's part of your 3rd tier for sure. It's not the only thing you're doing. Have you ever gone on an appointment and a seller will say to you, because they've said it to me, right? Sherri, this is all great, but what are you going to do to sell my house? Like, what are you doing yourself? Like, specifically, what are you going to do to sell my home? That's where this line comes in. Brand new agents beat out top agents all the time that are coached by me that use this line. And here's how it goes. Whether you know it or not, and you say this to the sellers, right? Whether you know it or not, you expect me to find the buyer for your home. That's what you're paying me to do, right? Whether I find that through my own methods and I sell it myself, or I target agents that have buyers. That's all. What you're doing is finding the buyer. So you need to say that in your dialogue when you speak to them. Savvy sellers will say, yeah, that's exactly right. I actually want you to find the buyer for my home. The second thing they want you to do is to sell their home within a specific time period. We haven't talked about price yet. The number 2 priority is selling the house in a time period that meets their needs. That's more important than number 3, which is actually number 3 is price. Pricing their home competitively came up as the 3rd option, the 3rd priority in the list of 4. We're going to talk about that today. How do we price it competitively? How do we use the word in your vernacular? Now you're going to say competitive market analysis. Just saying it's a better way to talk. We are competing with active listings. Those are the ones we're competing with. The ones that are pending or transferred title are already gone and off the market. So pricing their home competitively is the 3rd. The last one, which I always talk about, is finding ways to help them fix the home up to sell it for more. So what ROI is going to bring a faster sale? I was just with a fantastic team leader out of Baltimore who just had the seller spend $70,000 on purpose for $1 million. It's like $1.3 million house. They were able to get another $150,000 from his advice. Okay. So what value are you bringing to the table when it comes to helping someone? I'm not telling you to go hire a stager. I don't dislike stagers, but to be honest with you, like not every house needs to be staged. Like with furniture, I mean, like half the time the staging of stuff is taking things out of someone's house, is doing light paint, changing carpet, getting rid of the objections. That's why we do those things. And we'll talk about why that's important too. But these are the 4 things. The number 1 is that they want you to find a buyer for their home. That's pretty big. What does value look like? When you are trying to communicate your value, do you realize that out in the world, you look at things like, why would I spend more money at a Ritz-Carlton than a Hampton Inn? Why would I spend more money at a high-end restaurant steakhouse than I would at not a high-end steakhouse, right? Why do we do that? With the experience, there's value in the emotional experience that comes with this. What is your value that you bring? There's a reason people like Apple products or pay the Amazon. It's not on here, but like if you're a Prime member, you pay the Amazon annual fee because you're Prime, and it just, you don't even care because you're like, there's value in that fee, in that membership. I get better pricing, I get free delivery, whatever. right? When you think about the Ginsu knife commercial, they're adding knives. They just keep adding knives. It starts out with one knife, then 3, then 10. They add another 15 knives. This thing has 36 knives. And the price has stayed the same. That is completely on purpose, because at the end of that commercial, or in the middle probably, and then towards the middle to the end, the consumer is saying, wow, I'm an idiot if I don't buy this because it's such a great value. Price stays the same and we just keep adding value. Do you add value? If you're not getting 3%, there's a reason. If you're not getting 3% with a buyer, there's a reason. Not adding any value. Okay, I understand the buyer side's a little bit harder, but not really. Most of my buyer clients are getting 3 every time because they know how to communicate their value. If you look at, your track record of listing appointments and you say, do I add value and am I actually communicating it effectively, is what you really have to know. You might just not be communicating it right or in the best manner. Opportunities are not lost, they go to someone else. So what I'm bringing this up is that when you don't take that listing, when you say, this is where it should be priced, right? I'll give you my good, bad examples now. These are really good ones. So I was on a listing appointment, this is ages ago, but I told the seller, I said, it would be a disservice for me. She kept wanting to go up in price. And she's like, I really want to list it here. And I said, yeah, I understand. However, if we list it here, we will get an offer and we will sell here. Some of you know this talk track, okay? And I didn't get the listing. And I actually said to her, it would be a disservice for me to tell you a higher number. She smiled and I left, and I saw that the listing got listed by my competitors. It's a partner team. I'll never forget Marty and Carol. And, it was in the MLS, and I was like, there it is at 275. And I wanted 249 because I told her it would sell for 245. And they took it for 275. And I said, oh, well, here's what I told myself, right? I said, well, they bought the listing. It's not the right attitude, but that's what I said. And then I said, we'll see how long this is going to be on the market. And in less than 2 weeks, it was on the sales board in my office. Someone in my office had sold it. And I said, hey, Diana, what did that sell for? Because I went on an appointment there. She said it sold for 245 in 2 weeks, listed at 275. All right. And I said, that's exactly where I said it would sell. And I walked away, and I was going up a flight of stairs, everybody. Went up the stairs, and I got, I was like self-righteously right? I'm like, I'm right. And somewhere on top of the landing, before I went up the turn to the rest of the staircase up to my office, I said, well, this is stupid. I'm right, and I'm not getting paid. Is anybody with me on this? Like, I literally had the light bulb went off, thank goodness, that said, wow, your strategy is not working. So whoever told me not to take an overpriced listing, right? I mean, I have, like we always say, if I had a crystal ball, I have a crystal ball right here, okay? It's on my desk. I knew that would make you laugh. Literally have this crystal ball on my desk. We know our numbers. I'm not telling you don't. What I'm telling you is that let the seller price the house. Let's not fight about that. Let's have a better plan for when it doesn't sell. Okay. Most of us just don't know how that works. I had a referral I gave to a guy. I was now, a regional VP or whatever. And I gave a referral to my very good friend. And I said, go take this. It's a 650 to 700. Go list it. It's ours. We're getting it. It's done deal, right? It's personal referral. And I should have gone on the appointment. He came back and I said, how'd it go? And he said, those people are crazy. He said, I didn't get the listing. I said, what do you mean? It was ours to lose. He said, well, they wanted to price it too high. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, well, I said, it's literally like it's, what did they want to do? He said, they want to go to 680. I said, where were your numbers? He said 650. Right. And I said, you didn't take this listing for $30,000 at a 650 to 680 price point? He said, no, they're crazy. I was spitting nails. I was so mad. I was like, I didn't think you were going to argue with the seller. I wouldn't have given this to you. Okay. Your job was to like go there and list it. It's not like they were trying to go 750. Here's what ended up happening. This is crazy. So he loses the listing. 5 days later, when it's on the market, one of his buyers writes a full price offer at 680 because they wanted the house. And I hate to say this, the seller wouldn't even look at it because they didn't want to deal with him. Okay, which is really a disservice to his buyer and a disservice to everybody. So that happened. Okay. I can't tell you how many agents say to me, I'm doing this so wrong, and I keep losing listings, or I keep wondering why the sellers are crazy. Well, they're not crazy. First of all, it's their house, it's their money. Let's be better at asking better questions and setting the tone for what they expect on value. Like when I talk to a seller before I go out there, I say, hey, before I come, I'd like to know, what is your expectation of value? Or I wait till I get to the house and I'm on the tour and I say, what's your expectation of value? I'm going to tell you why I say that in a moment. Okay, we'll come back to that. What happens in this dumb pricing scenario, where I'm calling it dumb because it's just we're missing the boat here. When we say we won't take an overpriced listing, they'll sell, they end up selling. I was running through Rocky River and one of my agents went on a listing appointment for a lakefront and didn't get it, and a competitor got it. And I saw, she told me that they overpriced it and they cut their commission. And I found out they didn't cut the commission at all. And they didn't overprice it. They just priced it where the seller wanted to price it. And the house sold in less than 5 days, because the next time I went for a run, it had a sale pending sign in it. So very easily and quickly, you can start seeing some of the, I call it like just their bad habits. We just developed them because that's how it got baked into your psyche on how to do this. So your role is different than your identity. Agents will say to me, well, I don't want people to come on tour and think I overpriced this house, Sherri. And I'm like, yeah, but like those people who are coming to your Brokers Open, if your markets are still doing them, many still are, which I'm happy to see. When someone comes to your Brokers Open, a good agent is not going to say that. A good agent is going to say, I'm going to show this. I have buyers for this house. Yeah, it's priced where it's priced. An agent who's giving you that kind of nasty, like this, this is overpriced. I always say, how many houses are they selling? Let's look at that, number one. And then I also say, first of all, to you, they would have taken that listing. They just didn't have an opportunity to. Okay, so it's not about you. It's not about us. But the seller ultimately prices their home. Now, I also know that they're, if they don't lower the price after a certain 45 days or whatever the number needs to be, it's frustrating, and I've told a seller, like, hey, you're not going to go, when the house doesn't sell, you're not going to tell your friends at a cocktail party that you overpriced it. You're going to tell them I couldn't get it sold. Now, that's a pretty powerful thing to say. I don't recommend you say that unless you absolutely feel it's right to say it. But think about that sentence I just said, right? I want the seller to price it. I also need to educate them on here's what's going to happen when we don't get an offer and we have X number of showings and we've been on the market for X number of days. Having that conversation up front and then throughout the sale process, throughout the marketing, is going to change how you do this. Now, again, your role is to educate them, facilitate this, get the listing, educate, continue to educate, and show them a better strategy. When you say things like fair market value or CMA, competitive, I can't even say comparable. God, I can't even say it anymore. A normal CMA, comparative market analysis. I've got it so ingrained to say competitive. I want you to change comparative to competitive. Yes. It's different. It sounds better. Okay. And then you want to look at, where do you want to price your house? How do you want to compete in today's market? Here are the 6 or 8, 9 houses that are for sale right now in our price range, in our community. Do we want to be number 7 when we really should be number 5? Or do we want to, show that we have more value at number 5? When you show a seller the list of actives and you say, where do you want to compete? It's a powerful sentence. Back to the beginning, when you first start the conversation and you say to a seller, this is the best thing I can teach. Well, one of the best things I can tell you today. When you start out a conversation and you say, what's your expectation of value? Where do you see the value? Do you have an idea? Right? Everybody does. And they're going to say, well, Sherri, I'm bringing you out here for you to tell me. And I'm going to say, yes, I know. I know. And I'm bringing a pricing strategy with me, and I'm going to have you give me a tour. We're going to talk pricing strategy for sure. But I ask every seller, and say it again, I ask every seller, because everyone has a number, or at least they have an idea, what is your expectation of value? Doesn't mean that's, the end of the conversation. I'm just asking you. So what is your expectation of value? And when they tell me, I then say, interested. I don't make a face. I don't do anything. I just listen. And I say, great. How did you come up with that? Did someone give you that price? I'm not going to say, do you have another agent? I'm just saying, did someone give you that price? Did you find it online? Which is code for, did you do a Zestimate or something, right? I'm not giving Zillow a free commercial. I'm sorry. I just don't think we should. So I'm just going to say, did you get that online? Did someone give you that number, or did you have an appraisal? No one ever has an appraisal typically, right? Like, very rare. But think about it. I want to hear them say the number. Why? Because now I know sort of where their head's at. Let's give me a tour. Let's go out. Now I already know where their expectation of value is by asking, what's your expectation of value? I didn't say, what's your have-to number? What's the price you have to sell this for? I'm just asking, like, in general. Sometimes people will say, well, my neighbor down the street got, 520. My house is better. Okay. We'll see, right? I don't flinch. I don't do anything except, okay, that's interesting. Where did you get that number? Sometimes they say, I put 200 grand into this house, right? Right, Joe Hurst? That's what they say, right? They're like, I put 200 grand into this house and I want it all back. People say that. I just say, oh, that's interesting. Okay, good. Show me on the tour the things you did. That's great. And then I know that I'm going to have to touch on that we don't necessarily get appreciation and dollar for dollar in improvements. I'm going to weave that into the conversation when we're talking about our pricing strategy. So I want you to use the term pricing strategy because it's just so much better. It's a better way to speak and it's going to help. Okay. We have to stop using old scripts. They don't work. They really don't. And every month you're adding something new to your marketing presentation, your listing presentation anyway. Okay. But I know for a fact that if you change just a few tweaks in how you speak and the questions you ask, you're going to be so much happier. 55% of communication is body language. So you always have to be in person. You're best when you're face-to-face. You're best to negotiate face-to-face. You're best overall, whether you're doing an open house and you're face-to-face with someone, you want to close to get a listing appointment, you're at somebody's house, talking about their house to sell it. You're best when you're face-to-face. 55% body language. 38% is tone of voice and the pace at which you speak. The speed at which you speak, that the tone and pace, right? How fast or slow am I talking? Do I intentionally put some, pauses in there on purpose? Am I enthusiastic or am I Debbie Downer? Are you magnetic or are you repellent? Right? We want to be magnetic. We want people to like us. Likability is one of the number one factors in choosing an agent. Obviously, your confidence is going to radiate, your knowledge, your authority, the fact that you know the right questions to ask. 38% and 55%, which by the way, is 93%, is made up of your tone of voice and your body language. And we haven't even talked about the words we're using. So words are 7%. That's it, 7%. So we need to be strategic and pick value-added persuasive words. Why would we pick value-added? Because they work. This isn't I don't even know the word. I guess manipulate. That's not the word I wanted to choose. But think about it. If you pick better words, right, you will add more value. You'll be more strategic. You'll help people through the process, the stages of the selling process. I always talk about minimize and marginalize, never people, topics. When you minimize a topic, right, you're not giving it a lot of life. What we focus on gets bigger. The words we say, how we speak is going to make or break how you do this. Okay. Same thing when you're on that listing appointment. How are you engaging with people is going to matter. So main components of your listing presentation have to have a marketing strategy. Please call it a marketing strategy, a pricing strategy, a negotiation strategy, and a multiple offer strategy if applicable. Okay. A negotiation strategy is so important because that's going to pave the way for a much easier offer presentation and counter offer if and when the offer comes in. Yet we don't talk about how we're going to negotiate until we have an offer, which is a problem, in my opinion. Wouldn't it be easier if we paved the road and we made sure that we covered all the things that happen, like don't be offended. We're not going to be offended by what would be perceived as a low offer. Let's talk about where the offer is going to come in. Let's actually rip the Band-Aid off, rip it off now, have them freak out and say, I'm not selling my house for that price. Right. We'll start at 90%. I go to 88% of list price. The offer could come in at 88%. What does that look like? X. Well, guess what? We're not going to be upset. Just had this happen with a client. And now they're chasing, the buyer pool has passed. So if you need to talk about a multiple offer strategy, great. If you don't, that's fine too. Okay. Factors of motivation. Already bought a home. Makes sense. They should be motivated. They're relocating. Also motivated. Usually there is a bonus involved. We just had this. They get a bonus if they sell in less time. Their company will bonus them for having it sell quicker, right? For having it be done and not take longer. Obviously, divorce is motivated, usually, not always. We don't always have, both parties are not always, as motivated. And it's obviously we represent them both. Investments that are not leased, those people are motivated. Those property owners are motivated. They're not generating income from that property. And then lastly is obvious an estate sale. When you're dealing with an estate, typically those people are motivated. Unfortunately, there tend to be, 1 to 5 people involved. That gets a little interesting. But these are your 5 most motivated factors of motivation. These are the 5 factors of what I would call are highly motivated people. If somebody doesn't fall into this, it's okay. Sometimes people are doing multiple things of this, right? They already bought a home and they're relocating. That's kind of a really motivated person usually. I like to tell people, one of my scripts I say is, it seems our motivation has changed, but our price hasn't. Right? Write that one down. That's a really good one. It seems our motivation has changed, but our price hasn't. So that's open for another conversation for us to have. Your role in determining price is really more about having a conversation with them. Like I said, what's your expectation of value? Let's talk about that. We've gotten the tour. We're back to discussion. We're going through our marketing strategy, etc. And now when you get to what you want to call the comps, I want you to change that up and I want you to talk about a pricing strategy. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, this is how I get top dollar for my clients, right? And here's what happens when we constantly say, I'm going to get you the highest price in the shortest amount of time. What that ends up looking like to someone is their number. So we are just completely sort of, what's the word? It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. We are reminding them that highest price, their highest price is what they think, right? So we want to remember the number one thing they want is for us to find the buyer. My marketing strategy, I will have a showing within the first 7 days that I show the property. That's what I do, right? Setting the price was number 3 on their list. When we talk about the highest fair market value in a time period that meets your needs, we're placing that highest fair market value determined by who? The buyer, right? We can set the price. We also want to have a better plan in the event that it does not sell. Now, I know that people say, I'm not giving my house away. The other homes on the street sell for this. I have a have to number. I have to get this. That's fine. When you perfect the conversations with the seller, you can literally be exclusively a listing agent if you want. This is where people don't like listings because they don't know how to have these conversations. I want you to say, where do you want to compete in today's market? It's easier for us to be perceived as the best value because of our square footage, how well maintained your home is, the size of it, again, the condition of it is a 10. We don't have the same finishings as the other homes that are more money. So for us to try to price higher than that might make us look like we're not apples to apples. If we price slightly below those, we're going to be perceived as the best value because we have more square footage than them. These are just tips that work. I know what happens. Every single objection is a price objection at some point. People are going to look at, they're literally going to take their mouse and look at 3 things online: square footage, price, and the pictures. And bottom line, they will ultimately decide if they can get the house for the price they can get it for and do the repairs that they think are necessary. Now, here's what happens, right? They think the perceived cost for doing those repairs is always 5 times higher than it actually is. In other words, if it's $5,000, they're sitting there in their head saying, oh, it's 25 grand to do this house. Not necessarily, but no one's there to have that conversation with that buyer. So the perceived cost looks higher than it really is when we don't change out paint color in some cases and change out worn out carpet, right? We do these simple things that bring a much higher value, okay? I want you to learn this phrase. Is it in your best financial interest to choose that list price? I don't know, right? The longer we're on, the more buyers are going to come in and buy other houses, and that's not going to be good. I'm going to take you to literally to the line that I love the most, and that is going to be where we talk about the number of showings. I like to give anecdotal stories about other situations. I had a seller, right, who we kept the price where it was, and it took us, 25 showings to get 1 offer, right? And now we didn't close that, and now we're still on the market another 35, 45, 60 more days. So it took us 60 days and 25 showings. That's our ratio. That's not in your best financial interest necessarily, is it? And it just helps people pause for a moment. I'm just the expert at your home, at your money. I love to say that. I'm just the expert. And I say the word just, I want you to too. Set the list price last. Choose your agent first, then set the price. One of my best closing strategies, by the way, on coming back from the tour is to say, you know what, Debbie, I'm going to need a key. And Debbie goes straight to the junk drawer, grabs the key, brings it over, and puts it right down in front of me. We haven't even talked about pricing. We haven't even talked about mission. I'm getting this listing. I have the key to the house, right? So I can't tell you how many people have sent me pictures of contracts that were signed through the mail. They did it in person. They said, I'm going to need a key. And guess what? The seller goes over and gets the key for you. Okay. Now I get it. You might not be at that appointment. This is like the one where you're getting, you're about to list the house. I'm going to need a key. Take something. Ask them for the blueprints. I had a friend of mine that I coach. She's actually my best friend. And she went on a listing appointment for $1.5 million house. And she comes out of the appointment and she called me and she said, I took the blueprints. I said, what do you mean you took the blueprints? She said, you told me to take something. So I asked them for the blueprints so I could study the blueprints. I'm getting this listing. And I said, good, now she's got to go back because she has their blueprints. Okay. When we do this, when I take pictures instead of if, please take the word if out of your sentence, right? We want to ask more questions. The person who talks the most just talks the most. If you are asking good leading questions, you're going to control the conversation better. You'll control the conversation. And that's what we're trying to get to is control. Price or condition, it's always one or the other. And here's what happens, right? Like I love to say to people, I know what's wrong with their house and so do they. And I say, many of my clients, their houses either back up to a park or a parking lot. And it's a play on words and I love it because I say park or parking lot and one adds value and the other one takes value away, right? And immediately they're going to say, well, we have this and we have that. And you say, I know that I sell houses in here. And those tend to be some of the objections that I have to overcome. I'm very good at overcoming objections, actually. But I want you to know, Lisa and Mike, every objection ends up being a price objection. And for the right price, people will live with something they don't like. We have a bunch of tools that we use to show, is my house priced correctly? And what is the showing feedback that you're getting, right? Like for the right price, people will make an offer. And when we show the symptoms and why it's not selling, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, we're at fair market value. We get lots of offers. We actually are at the right price. This is fair market value. So it's very important to have that. I also think, these are a lot of things, my concern is that you will want this offer in another 90 days, and I can't guarantee that another offer will be there, right? I mean, we're not guaranteed. If we make a counter offer, we're not guaranteed those people are going to stay. Some of you are in a very much balanced market. Some of you are in a seller's market. It's a little bit different. And if you're in a buyer's market, they have other opportunities. They have other houses, right? So we have to be very, very careful at what we're doing and how we're doing it, right? When you get a price reduction and you say, here's the deal. I want to come out and talk to you about another pricing strategy. Please don't try to do this on email. Please don't do this in a text. You need to be face-to-face. And the last thing you want to say is, hey, Elizabeth, I'm coming over. I want to talk about lowering the price. I want you to call it. I want to talk about the next 30-day marketing strategy and pricing strategy talk, right? Now, we talked about it at the appointment when I was there to have you hire me. And now we're going to talk about it. I'm going to go through the formula of why your house isn't selling. And we're going to talk about how many showings we've had, right? How many showings, how many offers, how many days on market. And that's really what this boils down to is when you can say how many showings, how many days on market, that's the key. So write this down. Every 30 days. Now it might be 14 days for that price point. I don't know because your markets are all different. Take a look at what your average days on market is for a house at 550 in a certain city. If it's 18, use 18. If it's 40, use 40. I'm going to go with 30 right now, just for my example. Every 10 showings or 30 days on the market, we should have at least one offer. So if you've had 20 showings in less than 30 days, right, whichever happens first, if we don't have an offer, we are essentially being rejected from the market. And that's pause. That would be the point where we would have a conversation about the next pricing strategy. Okay. And if you tee that up now, you're going to be happy and happier, okay, that you did that, because what will come from that is that you will have a better conversation along the way, right? It's when we don't talk about a negotiation strategy and the offer comes in and they aren't prepared. In my negotiation expert class, I talk about how do you prepare a seller for an offer, right? And if one's not coming in and we need a price reduction, what do we say then? But know this, right? If you say to them, I'd like to come over and have I'd like to come to the office, to come to your house I need to book a strategy session with you to talk about the pricing strategy and the marketing that I'm going to do. And then I want you to go into Canva or into your company marketing and create a 45-day marketing strategy, a 30-day marketing strategy, a relaunch, if you will, of what you're going to do, all the things. They might be repetitive from the first wave of marketing that you did when you first launched it, but maybe you do a lot of those things again. Maybe you write in there that you're going to call every single person who showed it and let them know about that. You do those things, but if you make it special and put it on, if you actually put it on, if you put it on to a sheet of paper and legitimize it by making it special, they're going to retain it 65% better if they see it, and you're going to be able to deliver that value by saying, it always goes like this. Sellers will say, she don't like my house anymore. He's not doing any marketing, right? So give an extra, just get excited about it the way you were when you first had it listed. That's what I love to do. I love to like that wow factor of they don't see that coming. They don't see it coming. And they're like, oh, we have another 30-day marketing plan. Yeah, I told you about this when I listed your house, right? So I want you to think about for a moment, where can you improve? Where can you improve your game, compete at a higher level, and raise up the value on these listing appointments to the point where you are adding more value and using better words, asking the question, what's your expectation of value? So that you can better strategize the way you're going to speak and ask questions after you get a tour or even while you're on the tour, right? I mean, there's a reason we go to Relocation Beige when we sell a relocation house. You don't have to be a relocation expert or even do relocation to talk about this. But if I walk into a house that's full of lots of color, right? And I say, wow, okay. And they say, we don't want to do anything. Okay, you don't have to do anything. However, houses that I stage sell this percent faster, right? And I can do the same thing for you. But this is why I talk about when we have properties that a relocation company wants to sell quickly, we take them to a neutral color. We remove objections. That's what you're really telling the seller. Let's remove as many objections as we can so I can get your house sold and get you where you want to go on time. All right. And, by the way, enthusiasm, like I had an agent, she went into a house and she lost the listing. Part of the reason she lost the listing is that she went in and she said, here's what we need to do. And she basically staged the house on the tour. Never knew this person before. And another agent in my office got the listing and sold it. And when it went under contract, there were some issues. I ended up talking to the seller. And the seller said to me, I interviewed another agent in your office. And I said, yeah, I know you did. And she said, do you want to know why I didn't choose Jane? And I said, yeah, actually, I would love to. That would be very helpful. What happened? And she said, well, when Jane came to my house, Jane told me everything that was wrong with my house. And I figured if she didn't like my house, how was she ever going to sell it? And I knew what Jane had done. I knew Jane had had a conversation prematurely about staging it on the tour. So let me give you the advice, right? When you walk into a house and you know it needs to be staged, hold off on that conversation. Tell them how great the house looks, right? Your enthusiasm is gonna get the listing. Your enthusiasm. Like I've even said, oh my gosh, this is so ugly, right? Oh my gosh. I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is so great. Did you do this or did you hire someone to do it, right? Like you have to compliment people. I want people to know that I can sell their house no matter what, okay? She perceived her staging, it just was at the wrong time. Instead of staging it later after you get hired, she was trying to stage the house while she was walking through it. So I get it. It just cost her, the sale. It cost her the listing. So let's be more strategic. Let's have a better plan for taking the listing and having a better strategy for getting a price reduction. That doesn't mean you have to say to a seller, we're going to lower the price after X number of days. I mean, you can, but I like to just do it gradually. I'm not telling you go overprice the houses. I'm saying get the listing, get hired, sell other houses off of that house. I've got an agent in Houston who just a company that we coach their whole team, and he got this expired listing because he did my expired campaign, and the house is listed at I think $475. He's picked up seven clients from this one house at the open houses. And he said it's a little bit overpriced. He's like, but it's going to sell, but he's picked up 7 people. Now, if he didn't take that listing, right, he wouldn't have these 7 clients. So we want to be smart. We want to be strategic. I want you to have a better plan to get a better plan in place to lower the price and just have those conversations in person, either at your office or at their house. Okay, so take that with you. Call it a competitive market analysis. Call it a pricing strategy, please. Don't say comps. I'll tell you why. Everyone says comps. It's like talking about the MLS as some sort of marketing tool. Everybody has the MLS. I'm not saying the MLS isn't important. I'm saying it doesn't differentiate you, because it doesn't, right? Why should I pay you when I can just put it in the MLS? Bring the value. You'll compete at a higher level, and you will definitely win. So I hope you got a lot out of this. I want to hear, I don't have in the slide deck an example, and I should, of a pricing, repositioning, marketing strategy. So after you reposition that price and you tell the seller, you bring that out, go into Canva. I mean, ChatGPT will create this thing for you, right? Thank you. Great verbiage. All right. Yes. Here's what I want you to know. If you take something out that shows that you have another marketing plan for the next 45 days, I don't want it to take another 45 days, but I want to tell you I have a plan, because I'm strategic and I have a plan. Every time we lower the price, here's what I'm going to do, right? If we're getting second showings, I'm not going to lower the price yet. I'm going to keep, try to get that agent to write an offer. Here's a pro tip, by the way, on listings. When you talk to a seller, I want you to tell that seller that you call every single agent and ask for feedback. And I want you to actually call every single agent and ask for feedback. Why? Because that's how deals get put together, everybody. Like, honestly, this is where we slip. This is where we don't do our job. Like, every seller that's a savvy seller has said to me, your agent isn't doing their job. They are literally waiting for that, multiple choice feedback. That's not overcoming objections. When I call Joe and I say, Joe, hey, Sherri Johnson, thank you for showing my, 278 Magnolia Court the other day, yesterday, to your buyers. What do we have to do to be number 1 on your buyers list? And Joe's gonna be like, wait, which house? And I say, the one with the, whatever. And then I'm gonna say, thank you so much for showing it. What do we have to do to be number 1 on your buyers list? Overcome the objections. You'll put that deal together. I can't tell you how many times I've put a deal together because I made that call and I said, Joe, what if we remove the above ground pool? Would that help? Yes. Okay, maybe. I don't know. You know what? Do me a favor. Call your buyer right now and call me back, and we'll put this deal together. I promise. That is what being a consummate sales professional is, right? Every time I tell a seller that I call for feedback myself, so my assistant, you're the deal maker. You're the one who can overcome the objections, right? You're the best objection overcomer that you know. So let's use it, okay? Your success is contagious, by the way. You've been looking at this slide for too long. I know this, coaching delivers results. I'd love to help you if that's something you're looking to do, to invest in your future, to invest in your business, to invest in yourself. Our coaching clients make on average another 150 plus. In some cases, 750 plus. In one year, this particular agent went from 32 to 84 million in less than a year with Goldmine Pipeline. Melinda Conkar, also phenomenal story. My gosh, she went from 3 to 9 million in her second year. She's now doing over close to 100 transactions, and just amazing stuff. And I know, a lot of times, agents will say, well, I just don't know what to do. We have everything. We have the content. You just download it and put it into place. What does that mean? Well, you can just take the content, plug it into a letter, and send it. I'm going to give you that free coaching call in a moment, 50% off on your first month of coaching. Please take advantage of this. If you're interested in coaching, we'll get you the first 50 off, and our plans will save you $300 to $700. It's pretty amazing. If you have a team, our team coaching is unbelievable. We're putting that in the chat right now. We'd love to make an impact for you, help you work less, make more, work smarter, take the guesswork out, and get you there a lot faster. This 20-minute call is available. We'll drop that in the link as well. And you can take advantage of getting on a call with either me or one of my top coaches. We will help you in that 20 minutes, take your business to the next level, give you strategies that you can put to use immediately. We can launch your goldmine pipeline, which will double or triple your business. If you've never heard of that, please go to download it from, you can download it from my website. The goldmine pipeline system is a game changer for sure. And it's the only kind out there. It's not like any other system you've ever used. If you're interested in our monthly subscription, we have a $49 and $99 plan. Both give you access to the Sherri Johnson Academy of, I think there's 70 courses with downloadable content. Playbook is a monthly subscription. There's no contract. The $99 a month plan gives you once a month group coaching, which will impact you, help you sell houses. A lot of people start with this, go into one-to-one coaching because they get some sales out of this first. We'd love to have you in either one. I actually have the Goldmine Pipeline slide right here with the QR code. If you want to scan this, get the Goldmine Pipeline ebook. You will thank me. It's a lot better if it's used with a coach, but I will tell you right now, this is double and tripled agents' productivity. I've done this with thousands of agents. I literally believe this is the system that will create anything you want and get rid of that crisis selling, right? The crisis selling days are over, that roller coaster ride of selling a house and not selling a house, just constant every month over month improvement, going from 40 grand a year to 15,000 a month. That's what we do. It's kind of fun. So take advantage of that. And then lastly, we will be on live next week. Actually, we have a really great topic. It is on negotiation expert. I think it's keeping the deal together, putting the deal together, and then keeping it together through the home inspections, because I know that you're struggling with that right now, because that's what everybody's asking for is, how do I negotiate in today's market? That is one of my favorite things to do. And I really, really would love to set up that strategy call with you, help you take your business to the next level. That's what we do. I'll see you next week, 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific. I think it's 10. Yes, 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern. Please be here. We'd love to see you again. Take advantage of all we have to offer. I'll see you next time, everybody. Take care. Bye.